Broadcasting live from somewhere in the Shadow Realm, this is YuGiOh Duel Links Talk. Here's your host, Doug Dimmaduel.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of YuGiOh Duel Links Talk. Today, I'm just going to go over a new deck that I recently built, just based off of the saltiness of how I felt so far during the Arkana event. I have really not gotten much of anything as far as the drops are concerned. It feels kind of like what a lot of people were complaining about with the Super Joey event. Seems like it was more of the same with the Arkana event. But it's okay though, because as far as my rewards went, there were absolutely no shortage of Mystic Box spell card. Of course, you know, the same one that you're able to get from farming Yami Yugi, but we'll just forget about that one, because I got a ton of these Mystic Boxes. So I figured, okay, I got lemons, and actually it's not a terrible card. So why don't I make some lemonade out of this, since I wasn't able to get my Arkana Dark Magician, and I wasn't able to get the other Magician card, and of course I only got the one copy of each of the cards that you're able to get when you were able to go through so many duels against Arkana. Tried farming, didn't really have much luck. I know a lot of the viewers and listeners have, so good job there. I'm a little jealous, obviously, if you can't tell, but I'm going to go through my Mystic Box deck, since those are the pieces that I've gotten. So, basically what I'm doing right now, the whole name of the game is to just kind of give your opponent weaker monsters and try and run over them with a different strategy, and what I mean is just trying to do some piercing damage to some low defense or low attack monsters. So to go through my deck, the absolute staple is Mystic Box. This is one of the major players here. Mystic Box is the spell card where you target one monster your opponent controls and one monster you control. Destroy the first target, then give control of the second target to your opponent. So basically, you want to get a weak monster on your side of the field and use Mystic Box there to destroy one of your opponent's stronger monsters, and instead giving your opponent one of your weak monsters. So, what card does this go really well with? Well, this goes really well with Stray Lambs. So Stray Lambs is the spell card here. You special summon 2 Lamb tokens, Beast type, Earth, level 1 attack, 0, defense 0, in defense position, and you cannot summon other monsters the turn you activate this card, but you can set. So basically what you want to do is set up your field so that you have some Stray Lamb tokens on the field, sitting there in defense position or attack position, doesn't matter, when you activate your Mystic Box. Then what you end up doing is destroying your opponent's card, giving them one of those 0 attack, 0 defense Stray Lamb tokens, and hopefully you may already have a monster out there on the field that is, hopefully a little more of a higher attack, or even in my case, I could always use the other Stray Lamb token as a tribute fodder for another card. So what I end up doing with that second Stray Lamb sometimes, if I have it in my hand, is in this deck specifically, I run 3 copies of Labyrinth Wall. If you remember this one from the Paradox Brothers event, and also some of the rewards that you're able to get through the Paradox Brothers as you level up, it's a level 5 rock, 0 attack, 3000 defense. So the reason why I like this card too is because if I'm also going to activate my Mystic Box, I could switch this Labyrinth Wall to attack position, because it's got 0 attack, give that card to my opponent, and then attack into the 0 attack Labyrinth Wall. So there's multiple ways to use this, but also what I like to use this card for is a stall tactic. Now what you can do is run this with the Paradox Brothers skill, Labyrinth Builder or Wall Builder or whatever it was, that one skill where you're able to shuffle 2 cards into your deck to bring out a Labyrinth Wall onto the field in defense position. So yeah, that's a really good option too. But yeah, you can use just about any kind of skill with this deck, restart or balance or anything like that. So yeah, there's quite a few that you can use, but also that Paradox Brothers skill is not so bad to have. So next, we do run Jowls of Dark Demise. If you don't remember this one, it's a level 2 Fiend flip monster. It's got 200 attack, 100 defense. Its flip effect is take control of one monster on your opponent's side of the field until the end of the turn that this card's effect is activated. When the controlled monster attacks, it can attack your opponent's life points directly. So, one scenario that I like using this card for, and aside from the obvious one, where you're able to take control of your opponent's monster and allow it to attack your opponent's life points directly, is to have Stray Lambs out on the field, and then as my set for that turn, because you can only set in the turn that you put out Stray Lambs, is I like to set Jowls of Dark Demise, because what that does is if my opponent decides to not attack my Lamb tokens first and decides to attack my Jowls of Dark Demise, not knowing what it is, when I flip summon that card, I take control of whatever monster that I want to control over my opponent's side of the field. Like, say my opponent has a Dark Magician, maybe an Arkana Dark Magician, one that I couldn't get. I could capture that Dark Magician, and because my side of the field is already full, it just sends that Dark Magician to the graveyard, because it's considered that that Jowls of Dark Demise is still on the field when I'm controlling that opposing monster, even though it just got destroyed in battle. So that's the really cool thing. That's one way to start clearing your opponent's monsters and destroying them. So it's not just using Mystic Box to destroy your opponent's monsters, but also the Stray Lambs, Jowls of Dark Demise combo. That's one that I really like using if I have all of the pieces in place. So okay, we're talking about a lot of monsters with really weak attack and all that stuff. So where do things come in with starting to do some damage to your opponent? Well, I use the Umi no Taurus, the level 4 Aqua monster. You can remember this one from the Card Trader. You're able to get this one. It's a rare. It's an Aqua, 1700 attack, 1000 defense, and if a fish, sea serpent, or aqua type monster you control attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. So using Umi no Taurus, what you're able to do is, like I said, for example, giving your opponent one of those Stray Lamb tokens using the Mystic Box. It doesn't matter if it's in defense position, because you're just going to inflict piercing damage if you have an Umi no Taurus on the field. So you're just basically running over a 0 defense monster, basically inflicting 1700 damage to your opponent. Even if you want to pair this up with Mythic Depths and have an Umi on the field, then you're talking about a 1900 attack monster. So yeah, you could even do things that way. That's why I'm just saying, kind of get creative with the skills with this type of deck. But yeah, it's pretty fun. And back to another weaker monster I have here. I do run Gravekeeper's Curse, because it is another weak monster I could give to my opponent using Mystic Box. Gravekeeper's Curse, when this card is summoned, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. So it's just a little quick burn for 500. I know it's nothing fancy, but also another card that I like to run just because I have it and it's really trolly and all that stuff is I like to run Gale Lizard, the level 4 reptile, flip, 1400 attack, 700 defense. When it's flipped, you target one monster your opponent controls and return that target to the hand. Now, the reason I like this one is because it seems like so many decks right now, like the Red Eyes deck builds, the Red Eyes Zombie deck builds, seems like everything, they're really hoping that you send their cards to the graveyard. So if you have more monsters that send those cards back to the hand, you could put your opponent in some pretty rough spots. So having Gale Lizard and having multiple copies, even running a Hane, for example, I know that's one that you get out of the Ultimate Rising box set, you could use that as well for the same type of strategy. Because I don't have a Hane, but I do have 2 Gale Lizards, I run 2 Gale Lizards in this deck. So, aside from that, you could just run your regular staples, your usual just kind of stall tactic spell cards and trap cards. So, like an enemy controller or a Windstorm of Edequa. You could use anything like that to get things just kind of stalling while you're trying to set up your plays. So this is not a very fast-moving deck. It is a pretty slow pace type of, I don't know. It's a much slower pace. Not one that's going to compete well with the meta and those ones where you fill the board and stuff. But as far as just a casual deck, casual play style, this deck is pretty fun to use. And it's, in a way, you could really troll your opponents pretty decent with it. So to recap, what I do is I run 2 Gale Lizards, I run 3 Umi no Tauruses, I run the 1 copy of Gravekeeper's Curse, 3 copies of Jowls of Dark Demise, I do run the 3 copies of Labyrinth Wall, 3 copies of Stray Lambs, I do run the 3 copies of Mystic Box, the absolute staple of the entire deck, the whole focus of this, and then just for the heck of it, I'll run 2 enemy controllers, and I'll run the Windstorm of Edequa, just because. So there's a ton of different ways to do this. There's also, even if you want to kind of shuffle in some cards that have a higher attack when you're going into the Mystic Box, but in my opinion, I like running that Umi no Taurus just because of the piercing battle damage aspect. You can run much higher attack monsters and switch your Stray Lamb or something into attack position, so you don't even have to worry about inflicting piercing battle damage. But it's just a really effective strategy to really chip away at chunks of your opponent's life points very effectively and very quickly. So that's kind of the strategy. So again, if you're like me and you ended up in the Arkana event getting a ton of Mystic Boxes, this is just one example of a deck that you can build out of those pieces. For better or for worse, bitter or not, it is still just a really fun deck to play. So I've had a blast playing around with this one. I've been playing around with a few people on Twitter that I've been talking with, and we've been dueling in the Duel Room. So yeah, keep an eye out on Twitter. If you want to join in on the Duel Room, you'll have the opportunity to go up against some of these crazy deck builds that I'm running. You could see how good or how bad they are in action. But yeah, definitely just follow me on Twitter or reach out to me, contact me, ask me, hey, when's the next time we're doing one of these Duel Rooms? Because I like to do it every few days. Out there on Twitter at YuGiOh Deck Talk. It's all one word, at YuGiOh Deck Talk. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. So if you have a similar deck build or anything that you've done in this ballpark, I'd love to hear about it, and maybe we'll talk about some more decks to use using some of the Arkana drop cards. So anyway, that's it for today's episode. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.